few more examples. So example 2 says the rate of interest for an investment is 5% per annum, so that means 5% per year. What is the interest rate for each compounding period? So what we're looking at is how much interest you're earning at each of the compounding periods that we may be looking at. So if interest is compounded annually, what that means is that you're only earning interest once a year. And so what that means is that one time you're only earning 0.05 as a decimal in interest, okay, or 5% in interest, okay? So 0.05 is the amount of interest you're earning per year. Because interest is only compounded once a year, then the interest rate per compounding period would be 0.05. Okay, part B is slightly different. If you're looking at a semi-annual compounding period, what that means is you're earning 5% a year, but interest is being compounded twice a year. So you need to divide the interest rate by 2 to get 0.025. And so what that means is you're earning 2.5% in interest twice a year for a total of 5% in a year. Okay, monthly, what that means is you're still earning 0.05 in a span of a year, but because you're earning interest on a monthly basis, you need to divide this by 12. And so what you end up getting is 0.05 divided by 12, which is equal to 0.004166, and this continues, so I'll put a bar over the sixes. And so what this means is every month you're going to earn just under or just over 0.4% in interest. Okay, so this percentage is written as a decimal to do your calculations, but essentially you're taking the amount of interest you're supposed to earn in a year and dividing it by how often you're earning interest to figure out how much interest you're earning at the end of each month in this case. Okay, bi-weekly again, you're earning 0.05 in interest on a yearly basis, but because you're earning interest bi-weekly, that means you're actually earning interest 26 times in a year. And so if I do this on the calculator, what that means is every other week I would earn 0.001923 approximately in interest. Okay, so that's what that means. That's the amount of interest I would earn every other week, and over a span of a year it ends up accumulating to 5%. Okay, let's take a look at the next example. So it says in example 3, how many compounding periods are there for each of the following loans? So compounded monthly for 3 years, compounded annually for 5 years, and compounded weekly for 2 years. So we're looking for the number of compounding periods, and the number of compounding periods are indicated by the letter n. So we're trying to solve for the value of n. And so how many compounding periods are there for each of the following? So if you're compounding monthly, then that means that you're getting interest 12 times a year. And if you're investing for 3 years, then that means 12 times in the first year, 12 times in the second year, 12 times in the third year, and so that'll give you a total of 36. So that's one way to think about it. Another way is to look at the formula that we had for the number of compounding periods, and that's the number of compounding periods per year, which is 12 in this case, multiplied by the number of years that you're investing for, and so that gives you a total number of 36 compounding periods. So at the end of each month, you'll earn interest over a span of 3 years. That tells you you're going to earn interest 36 times over the span of 3 years. Okay, compounded annually for 5 years. So that means you're earning interest once a year for 5 years. So that means you'll earn interest 5 times. Okay, so the number of compounding periods is 5 in that case. Okay, compounded weekly for 2 years. So if you're earning interest on a weekly basis, then that means you are earning interest 52 times a year. And if you're earning interest for 2 years, then that means you're actually getting interest 104 times in a span of 2 years. So every single week you get interest, which means there are 104 compounding periods in a span of 2 years. Okay? I just want to correct something in example 2, so I'm just going to go back one example. In example 2, the rate of interest that you were given is 5%, and we were looking for the interest rate per compounding period. And so the letter that indicates the interest rate per compounding compounding period is the letter I. So what each of these were that I solved for were the value of I. Okay, so I just wanted to correct that so that you know that the value that we solved for here is actually the value of I. Okay, I is one of the values that we have in our equation, so I wanted to just indicate that for you. Okay, so we looked at how to solve for I. We also looked at how to solve for n.